Pastor Matthew Stuckey here from Verity Baptist Church, Philippines, and I wanted to make a quick recap video of the 2024 Cebu missions trip. So the 2024 Cebu missions trip, we had a total of 464 salvations. We had over 50 soul winners. So we had about 30 soul winners from our church in Manila that flew out to be a part of the event, and we partnered with Faith and Verity Baptist Church, Pastor Sammy Mansili, which is as like-minded to us of a church as any church in the Philippines. Pastor Mansili and his wife are incredibly hospitable. Church members are great. A lot of the church members travel a long distance to come to that church because they really just don't have a like-minded Baptist church to be a part of. So we had a great time partnering with them. I had the opportunity to preach the services on Sunday. So I preached How to Hate Your Life as one sermon and why Cebu needs Faith in Verity Baptist Church. The midweek service, Evangelist Duncan Urbanic preached that service. And so we had our church family come in kind of at different times, and some people stayed longer than others. And we had a great time with them. And so that Sunday, as I preached, after the services, I went souling with Pastor Monsili, and we basically did door-to-door near the church because we were also fellowshipping at the church afterwards. And it's a little bit different there. You know, in the Philippines, in Manila and Pampanga, you'll say, tao po as you go door-to-door. But over there, you say ayo. And so it's kind of interesting. The first time that I said ayo, I felt a little bit uncomfortable and shy to just kind of yell it out, but it was definitely fun, and I was excited I got somebody saved as we went door-to-door soul winning there. Then we went to different areas Monday through Saturday for the rest of the missions trip. One advantage we do have in Manila is that we have giant parks where you can send a lot of people at one time. Maybe not 50 people, but you can really send like 15, 20 people, especially as it gets toward the afternoon, and have plenty of people to talk to. And so in Cebu, they didn't seem to have quite as many parks or as big of parks with as many people. So that's one advantage in Manila. But really the big thing that we found a bit of a struggle was there is a major language barrier in Cebu for a Filipino speaker. The dominant language, or for a Tagalog speaker, the dominant language in Cebu is Cebuana. There was no official national language in the Philippines for a long time, until about 50 years ago when Tagalog was declared as a national language. At the time, Cebuana was spoken more commonly as a native language than Tagalog, but Tagalog ended up becoming the dominant language. And but there's still, in that part of the world, Cebuano is the dominant language. People felt a bit shy to speak in English and in Tagalog. And certainly everybody has some level of understanding of those languages. But when I first moved here to the Philippines, I would give the gospel in English, and sometimes I would just see that they're not quite getting it. There's something not quite clicking. And just because they might not be completely fluent, it just made it a little bit hard to explain certain things. So I had many conversations I had to end, and I realized you're just not going to get saved. And for our members from our church, since very few of them speak Cebuano, they ran into the same things there that I run into, where I used to run into. Now I give the gospel in Tagalog. So what I did is I would ask them Tagalog or English, which they preferred, because I had heard many people preferred English over Tagalog. But I would often still find that during the conversations, there was something that wasn't quite clicking, which I don't run into that here because I'm preaching the gospel in Tagalog and our church members are preaching in Tagalog. So there's a lot of conversation that we kind of started and just didn't end because there just was something that wasn't quite clicking. So obviously 464 salvations is a lot of salvations. But on the first day, we kind of realized that we're not going to be able to send a large group of people to a park and just everybody's preaching the gospel nonstop and getting giving the gospel to 20 people in one day. That just wasn't going to be the situation because there's a lot of people that are hesitant to speak the language. And so the results are probably a little bit lower than we originally expected, just because the language barrier was bigger than we expected. But it's still a very successful missions trip. Everybody had a great time. We're definitely planning to go back in the future. When we go back in the future, I think we're going to pick a different time of year. We did this to coincide with their church anniversary, which was awesome. But because of the fact there might be a bit of a language barrier for our members that are going to be joining in Cebu, I think we're going to pick a time of year when school is in session. There might be the opportunity to preach in the schools, but the parks are going to be more filled with younger people where they're learning English in school growing up. And they're also probably more familiar with Tagalog because they were watching a lot of TV and everything in the Philippines. And so with that, I think it's going to be even a more productive trip. But we had a great time in Cebu. It was awesome. It was really the first missions trip we've done as a church. We do the ones in Manila, but this is really the opportunity for our members to go and be a part of a trip. And it's something we definitely want to do in the future. Cebu, we definitely want to do again in the future. There's other locations that we're definitely wanting to do. And, coming up shortly, in the next few weeks, I'll be announcing our missions trips coming up in Manila, the exact dates, and also kind of a special add-on because it's going to be a double missions trip. So that's going to be coming up. But we had a great time, 464 salvations, more than 50 soul winners. And I highly recommend check out Faith and Verity Baptist Church, Pastor Sammy Mansili. He's like-minded, just like we are, on board with all the doctrines, zealous for soul winning, hard preaching, the whole 9 yards. Anyways, thank you and God bless.